all of our gracious hosts for putting together an extraordinary series of meetings. Obviously, with less than a week passed since Paris, many of our thoughts continue to go out towards our friends in France, condemning the attacks, obviously, but also reminding everyone that the world stands together in the fight against terrorism, and Canada is resolute to do its part. The discussions were largely, of course, on the economy and trade, bringing up such a range of topics as how to create inclusive growth, how to ensure that the success that we need to build within countries and across countries are properly shared, and ensuring as well that there is greater investment in the kinds of infrastructure and support to create more growth. I was very pleased with these topics because, as the Canadians in the room will know, they were themes that came up regularly during the election campaign, and I was glad to talk about the platform we got elected on in Canada, which is focused on investing in ways that will create growth for the middle class, investing in our future, lowering taxes for the middle class while raising them on the wealthiest 1%, and understanding that the goal of a modern economy is really to give a real and fair chance to everyone to succeed. And as part of the discussions on inclusivity, a number of countries were bringing up how important it was to include women in the workforce and look towards parity. Although when people highlighted what an important symbol it was that I put forward a cabinet that features gender parity, I highlighted that it wasn't about a symbol, it was very much about being able to showcase the extraordinary decisions and the extraordinary quality of governance that we're going to get from a cabinet that is a true reflection of Canada's diversity, including gender parity. And with that, I'd like to highlight the presence of two dear friends who've done an extraordinary job here at APEC, my Minister for Foreign Affairs, Stéphane Dion, and the Minister for International Trade, Chrystia Freeland. Both of you stand up, please, and we'll showcase parity. On top of that, one of the conversations that was a long-running conversation through both the G20 a few days ago in Turkey and here through APEC was the preparation for the Paris COP21 conference. Climate change is an urgent and pressing reality that we need to address as a world, and I was glad to highlight that not only is Canada here to do its part, but our part includes putting pressure and encouraging other countries to step up in their commitments so we can ensure that the outcome of Paris is as ambitious and as optimistic as we need it to be. And that's certainly a conversation that I'm going to continue to have next week at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, where Canada will continue to play a role in pushing hard to ensure that ambitious action is taken by individual countries and by the global community. Quel plaisir pour moi d'être ici aux Philippines pour cette conférence de l'APEC. Je veux tout d'abord remercier nos hôtes, en particulier le président Aquino, qui a su nous montrer une rencontre extrêmement productive et agréable. Évidemment, à moins d'une semaine des attaques à Paris, on a eu beaucoup de discussions et de réflexions sur le terrorisme, mais ça continue d'être des opportunités pour nous comme communauté internationale, incluant des chefs d'État de pays musulmans, de condamner ces attaques terroristes et l'extrémisme, tout en renforçant notre désir d'être unis comme planète dans notre approche contre notre soutien contre l'État islamique et le Daesh. Évidemment, l'économie est un grand sujet de discussion aux conversations de l'APEC avec le commerce international. Mais les enjeux plus particuliers dont on a discuté, c'était vraiment sur comment créer de la croissance inclusive, comment donner plus d'opportunités pour tous de participer dans la réussite de nos pays et de notre communauté internationale. Et j'ai été très content de voir que les conversations qu'on avait ici étaient en grande partie un reflet des préoccupations et des conversations qu'on a eues pendant la campagne électorale au Canada. Alors, j'ai souligné le besoin d'investissement pour faire croître la classe moyenne, pour baisser les impôts pour ceux qui ont besoin d'un coup de main, tout en les augmentant pour les 1% les mieux nantis, mais aussi en créant plus d'opportunités pour que tous aient une vraie chance de réussir. Ce qui revenait souvent, c'est le besoin d'inclure plus d'opportunités pour les femmes, et de chercher la parité salariale pour les femmes. Et sur ce sujet-là, plusieurs des différents chefs ont souligné mon engagement et l'action que j'ai prise pour avoir un cabinet de ministres 50-50, hommes-femmes. Et j'ai souligné par la suite et en réplique que ce n'était pas tout simplement un symbole d'avoir la parité, mais c'était pour pouvoir démontrer à quel point les solutions et la qualité de gouvernance mis de l'avant par un tel cabinet qui est le reflet du Canada est une bonne chose pour nous et certainement une bonne chose à montrer à la planète. Et à ce niveau-là, j'ai été très content d'avoir été accompagné dans ces conférences ici à APEC par mon ministre d'Affaires étrangères, M. Stéphane Dion, et notre ministre d'échanges commerciaux, notre ministre du Commerce international, Chrystia Freeland. Aussi, nous avons parlé énormément des changements climatiques et j'ai pu souligner que le Canada est non seulement de retour pour faire sa part pour contrer les changements climatiques, mais aussi que le Canada était là pour faire un travail actif, d'encourager les autres pays, de mettre sur pied des ambitions et une responsabilité collective et concrète pour obtenir une bonne solution à Paris, qu'on puisse avancer de façon responsable sur la scène internationale avec une solution ambitieuse et robuste en sortant de la COP 21 à Paris. Alors, ce fut un plaisir pour moi d'être ici et j'ai bien hâte de prendre vos questions. I look forward to taking your questions. Yes.
Mr. Prime Minister David Youngren from Reuters, a couple of questions. Not long ago, just a few minutes ago, Mr. Obama announced that Canada would be ratifying TPP. Can you confirm this? What might you have said to him that would give him that impression? Also in French too, sorry.
I have repeatedly said to leaders and to Canadians that Canada is resolutely pro-trade. We understand how important trade is for economic growth, to create opportunities, to create better jobs for Canadians and for people around the world. And that is the lens through which we will examine the TPP. We're in a particular situation of being a country that wasn't among the having a government that wasn't among the negotiations of TPP, so it's only been about 12 days since we've really been able to dig into the text. And one of the commitments that I made was that indeed we were going to have a proper consultative process during the ratification process that included parliamentarians, and I am, of course, committed to that. One of the things that I was pleased by is that we got to modify the communiqué that the TPP leaders put out to specifically recognize that Canada had work to do to properly consult before we made a final decision on ratification. Sur le TPP, je suis, comme vous le savez très bien, en faveur des échanges commerciaux. Je pense que c'est bon pour l'économie, c'est bon pour le Canada, c'est bon pour le monde, c'est bon pour les emplois qui vont se créer. Mais en même temps, nous devons de prendre connaissance et de permettre aux Canadiens de partager et leur optimisme et leurs inquiétudes par rapport au TPP. Et c'est pour ça que nous allons avoir un processus de consultation qui implique les parlementaires aussi avant de ratifier le TPP. Et c'est pour ça d'ailleurs que dans le communiqué officiel des pays du TPP, ils ont souligné que le Canada avait un processus particulier qu'il devait faire pour qu'on puisse se joindre au TPP.
And secondly, on the CF-18 fighter replacement file, what discussions did you have, and did you mention to him your stated vow you would not buy the F-35?
I didn't have a discussion. I had a discussion with President Obama on a wide range of subjects. That particular subject didn't come up, but we remain committed to replacing Canada's CF-18s and to go through an open process in order to do that. But as we've said many times, we're going to be looking at costs as a significant decider in that process. Because we have also made a commitment to invest more to be able to actually achieve the shipbuilding goals that Canada's Navy needs so seriously.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau.
Bonjour, Emmanuel.
Lors de votre rencontre avec M. Obama, on vous a posé la question, vous n'avez pas répondu. Est-ce que M. Obama vous a demandé de reconsidérer le retrait des CF-18?
Monsieur Obama a tout simplement demandé que je travaille avec lui pour s'assurer que le Canada soit vu et soit en train de participer pleinement dans la mission, dans la coalition contre l'État islamique. Il a été rassuré par mon engagement de continuer d'être impliqué à bien des niveaux, y compris militairement. Et nous allons travailler avec nos partenaires dans la coalition pour s'assurer qu'il n'y ait pas un impact négatif sur les opérations de la coalition quand on fait une transition vers une mission différente qu'on a faite jusqu'à présent.
Justement, là-dessus, est-ce que vous avez une meilleure idée de l'échéancier pour le retrait des CF-18? Et on a tous remarqué, quand vous parlez d'engagement militaire, vous faites toujours le lien avec la formation. Est-ce que ce ne sera que de la formation ou bien il y a d'autres scénarios qui sont sur la table, comme de laisser là-bas les avions de surveillance, l'avion de ravitaillement, etc.? Donc,
on est en train d'étudier et de travailler avec nos partenaires de la coalition pour s'assurer qu'on continue de contribuer notre part et même plus que notre part dans la lutte contre l'État islamique. Notre ministre de la Défense est en train de travailler très fort sur le plan qu'on présentera aux Canadiens. Et il travaille aussi en lien avec nos alliés.
Hi, sir. I'd like to stay on the topic of that mission. You spoke today about degrading and defeating ISIS over the long term, and we've heard you using that language a lot in the past few days. I'm wondering, so Canada's in this for the long haul then, until ISIS is defeated? Is that what you're telling Canadians?
I think people understand that there are going to be no quick solutions in getting rid of ISIL. There is no question that the solution is going to require diplomatic, political efforts, as well as military and efforts and humanitarian and refugees. And this is something that Canada takes very seriously. And as I've always said, any engagement by Canada needs to be done with a responsible approach that recognizes that this is going to be this is a problem without a quick solution, and we shouldn't be pretending it is. Canada will continue to engage with the international community in a way that is responsible and appropriate.
But as you know very well, the Conservatives were putting these sort of limited time mandates, 6 months, 1 year. It sounds to me, though, like you're saying to Canadians, under Justin Trudeau, we're in this for years.
I have committed to Canadians to tell the truth. I have committed to Canadians to govern in a way that is responsible and based on facts, and not to make promises or commitments that I'm not certain I'll be able to keep. I know that the situation of instability in the Middle East has endured for decades, for generations, for centuries, for millennia. and pretending that there is a way to see it solved by March 30th, I think is not the kind of leadership that I wish to go forward. But what I do commit to is to keep Canadians informed in an open and responsible way of the steps we're taking, and include Canadians and all parliamentarians in the further discussions that we will be taking in the coming months and, yes, probably years, as we continue to strive for peace and stability in some unstable and unpeaceful parts of the world.
Mes collègues francophones aimeraient la réponse en français aussi, s'il vous plaît.
Je me suis toujours engagé de dire la vérité aux Canadiens et de prendre mes positions basées sur la raison et sur le respect de l'intelligence des gens. Je ne veux pas prétendre qu'il y a une solution facile ou rapide quand, évidemment, il n'y en a pas. Mais ce en quoi je m'engage, c'est de rester ouvert pour informer les Canadiens, pour qu'on s'assure qu'on ait une réflexion robuste et rigoureuse sur les différents rôles que le Canada peut jouer dans les mois et les années à venir. On sait qu'il n'y a pas de solution facile, que les solutions seront à bien des différents niveaux, politiques, diplomatiques, militaires, humanitaires, et le Canada aura ses rôles à jouer à tous ces niveaux-là.
Good afternoon, or Mr. Trudeau.
Who knows what time
Evening,
it is?
Yeah. So you did say today that Canada is doing more than its fair share in the fight against ISIS, but we are pulling the CF-18s and providing trainers. What else did the President ask you for in the fight against ISIS?
He just wanted to hear, which is what I said to him, that Canada is committed to continuing to be a valuable partner in the coalition against ISIL, to ensure that we continue to work with our partners and allies so that we have the best possible impact. And that's exactly what I committed to, and I told him that I recognize the multilateral approach both by nations, but the multifaceted approach that every single nation should have, and that we were going to be there on humanitarian efforts, we were going to be there with refugees, we were going to be there on diplomatic and political outcomes, but we were also going to continue to be there in military terms, and that is what not just President Obama, but all the leaders that I spoke to about this were pleased to hear.
And a point of clarification, if you don't mind. You called the President of the United States a cynic. I'm wondering...
Sorry, I called him what?
You called him, you said, so young and yet so cynical. I'm wondering why, and what did you mean?
It's a joke I make. It was a comment I made based on him saying that he was certain that I was going to go gray and that I should start dyeing my hair right now. And I thought I made a joke back about how I thought that was a cynical thing for him to say at his young age. So young and yet so cynical. It's a joke, and some people find them funny sometimes. I need to learn to leave them to the comedians, but that's okay.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
No, that's okay.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Vous avez passé la campagne électorale à dire « j'ai un plan ». Alors, comment se fait-il qu'il y a encore beaucoup d'incertitudes, qu'on n'a pas vu votre plan au sujet des réfugiés? Ce qui cause beaucoup d'incertitudes, le fait qu'on ne l'ait pas vu, votre plan.
Nous avons un comité du cabinet qui se penche là-dessus de façon très, très précise pour s'assurer que, comme j'ai toujours dit, on s'assure tout d'abord de la sécurité des Canadiens, et deuxièmement, qu'on fasse notre part, qu'on démontre à nos amis et à nos alliés que le Canada sait que d'accepter des réfugiés, d'accepter un grand nombre de réfugiés, c'est à la fois la bonne chose à faire et aussi c'est bon pour l'économie, pour la croissance et pour la stabilité de la planète. J'ai toujours eu un plan clair qu'on allait impliquer les différentes provinces, les municipalités, les partenaires, les ONG, et on est en train d'établir justement les détails de ce processus et on va avoir bien plus à dire dans les jours à venir.
Les Américains disent que ça prend en moyenne 18 à 24 mois pour faire les enquêtes avant d'accueillir les réfugiés. Comment vous pensez pouvoir en accueillir autant que vous voulez en accueillir en l'espace de quelques semaines à peine, en français et en anglais?
Le Canada a énormément d'expertise et d'expérience en matière d'immigration et de réfugiés. Et je suis certain, et j'ai été très rassuré par nos instances de sécurité, que c'est tout à fait responsable ce que le Canada peut faire. Et nous allons démontrer à nos amis et partenaires qu'on peut en faire plus sur les réfugiés.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Joël Denis-Bellavance de la presse. Les provinces et les villes craignent d'être poignées avec une facture assez élevée avec l'accueil de réfugiés de 25 000 que vous proposez. Est-ce que votre gouvernement s'engage à payer toutes les factures liées à l'accueil de 25 000 réfugiés d'ici à Noël? Les factures qui pourraient être soumises par les villes ou les provinces.
J'ai bien hâte de m'asseoir lundi prochain avec les premiers ministres des provinces pour pouvoir leur en parler et les rassurer. Mais en même temps, je sais que les Canadiens veulent que nous fassions tous notre part, que nous fassions le travail nécessaire, pas seulement pour accueillir les réfugiés, mais pour s'assurer de leur réussite, pour qu'ils puissent contribuer à la croissance, pas juste de leur famille, mais de nos communautés aussi. Et à ce niveau-là, on aurait énormément plus à dire dans les jours à venir quand on dévoilera notre approche sur les réfugiés.
Je vous pose la question parce que le gouvernement du Québec a exprimé des craintes au sujet de la facture qui pourrait être liée à l'accueil d'un grand nombre de réfugiés en si peu de temps pour l'hébergement, pour l'intégration et tout ça. Donc, le gouvernement du Québec va solliciter un coup de pouce financier du gouvernement fédéral.
Les Canadiens comprennent que accueillir des réfugiés, c'est aussi un investissement dans l'avenir. Que ce soit les Vietnamiens, que ce soit les Ismaélis qui sont venus de l'Afrique de l'Est. On sait que quand on accueille des communautés qui quittent des situations de détresse, de désastre, ils finissent toujours par contribuer énormément à l'épanouissement économique et identitaire du Canada, et c'est ce que nous allons continuer de faire.
Mes collègues voudraient avoir une réponse en anglais.
Canadians know well that drawing in people fleeing disasters or conflict zones, whether it be the Ismailis from East Africa in the early 70s or the boat people in the early 80s, there is no question that there is tremendous contributions to Canada by welcoming in people who want nothing more than to build a better life for themselves, their families, and their community. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Canadians have indicated across the country that we should and can do more to help Syrian refugees. That's exactly what we're going to do. And in regards to the costs of this plan, we will be filling in all those details in the coming days as we highlight what we're going to do.
Prime Minister, good afternoon. Bruce Campion-Smith, the Toronto Star. Just wondering on the TPP deal, if there are changes that your government seeks, is that a possibility or is it a take it or leave it? En français aussi.
I'm not going to engage into hypotheticals. We've committed to being a pro-trade party, a pro-trade government that understands how important building stronger commercial and cultural and human ties with countries around the world, how important that is for economic growth and for jobs. And we're going to continue to look to create stronger ties with countries around the world. On the TPP, we look forward to hearing from Canadians about the concerns that they may have, but also about the great opportunities that no doubt come with a deal like this. And we're going to fulfill our obligations and remain resolute in being a pro-trade party. As to the contents and the unfolding of that, it'll be before Parliament, and I won't engage in hypotheticals, what if this, what if that.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Le Canada est en faveur de l'échange commercial. On sait à quel point ça crée une croissance économique et des opportunités pour les Canadiens. Nous allons permettre aux Canadiens de s'exprimer sur cet accord et nous allons procéder de façon responsable comme nous nous sommes engagés de faire pendant la campagne électorale.
Mr. Trudeau, can I get you maybe to cast ahead to Monday's meeting with the premiers on climate change? What kind of concrete sort of plan are you hoping comes out of that?
There's a number of things. First of all, we're all going to Paris, and the timing of the Paris meetings means that there will be Canadians speaking up on Leaders' Day, during the big cities moments, during the subnational groups moments, and one of our concerns, or one of our desires, is to ensure that all the different Canadians speaking from all different perspectives pass a very similar message, that Canada is going to step up and do its part to ensure that we reduce climate change causing emissions and that we continue to encourage all other countries and partners to do their parts as well. That's a really important part of our approach, and that's what we're going to do.
Prime Minister, it's Mike Blanchfield from the Canadian Press. You're at the end of your first international trip as Prime Minister. We know that you came here we know what your agenda is, but we also know that you came here to listen and to learn from some experienced people. So I'm wondering if you could share with us something that you learned. Give us an example of something that you picked up that you think will make you a better international statesman as you move forward. And if you don't mind, with the greatest of respect, can you address the celebrity aura that seems to be enveloping you? I mean, you're aware of it. You're reading what people are saying. There's a hashtag that starts with the letter H. I don't want to say the word. Can you address that as well? Is this good or bad for your foreign policy? Is it indifferent, whatever? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Thank you, Mike. First of all, I've known for a long time that international relations often comes down to personal relationships. I'd seen it from my father, but for me to be here, to be able to engage in both formal and more casual conversations with leaders from around the world has truly reminded me how important it is that we establish strong connections so that we can, yes, work together on issues where we align, but also agree to disagree and to work through issues where we may have different perspectives. And in all the conversations I had, I was impressed with the genuine engagement that just about every leader put forward, the interests and the opportunities they're looking for in terms of better cooperation with Canada, and really a general climate that we all have different solutions to similar problems, and we do better when we're listening to what works best and what can be adapted to our own outcomes. So I was, in the beginning, somewhat reticent about talking about the kinds of solutions we put forward specifically for Canada during our election, investing in infrastructure, including transit, right off the bat, investing in better childcare and in housing for seniors, investing in the middle class and folks working hard to join the middle class in ways that were particular to Canada and maybe not directly applicable to the other countries that I was exchanging with. But one of the things I learned from those leaders is, no, let's talk about what we're doing at home in concrete terms and share what works, what doesn't work in a frank way. And I think that's a big part of what these summits are all about. Because when you're at home, and heaven knows I have an awful lot of work to do in terms of getting a government up and running and dealing with domestic issues, having an opportunity to share and exchange with fellow leaders, I think can only make us better at what we do at home. But I wouldn't be able to handle every single month 4 summits a month because we wouldn't get anything done at home. Secondly, I'm pleased that Canada's getting a little more attention right now because it gives us an opportunity to highlight the issues that are important to us. I got elected on a platform of openness, of transparency, of engagement, of listening to Canadians, of trusting people with real answers to tough questions, a level of respect for citizens that, for me, is at the heart of what a 21st century democracy looks like. The big challenges we're facing in the world don't get solved unless individual citizens feel like they have a way to engage, they have a way to make themselves heard to their leaders, to their representatives. And anything that can highlight that perspective and that positive engagement that Canada wants to have on the world stage at a time where, quite frankly, we need Canada to engage positively on the world stage, I take as a positive. And I, on a personal level, when I first announced that I was going into politics 8 years ago, there was a little bit of buzz and interest in, my father and my story. And rapidly, after a few months of working hard in Papineau, I got people to focus on the actual substance because I had things to say. Similar things happened once I first got elected. Similar things happened once I got to be leader of the Liberal Party. And again, by the time I became Prime Minister in Canada, it was sort of old hat for people. This is fresh on the world stage. We'll take some interest right now and convert that into the substance of what we're talking about.
Mentioning your father briefly, you obviously, although you had a privileged upbringing, you were exposed to such interesting figures drifting in and out of your life. Do you think that's contributed to this, and do you think it's prepared you for when you're going to have to say no more selfies, or I'm busy now, I got some work to do? I mean, do you see a point?
I think you always have to balance things, and I understood that my father knew well that there is there's an element of a public role that can help and contribute to the very serious professional role that you have to do as a leader, and keeping that balanced right is really important. Hello.
Hello. I'm Tina Monzon Palma, ANC, ABS-CBN News Channel, Philippines. And this question is about the trash that a Canadian company exported to the Philippines way back in 2013. It had been rejected by a lot of our local leaders, and there were efforts to try to get some government-to-government action on this. But are you taking action? And if so, what are you doing about it?
I have obviously been made aware of this situation, and I've also been told that there is a Canadian solution in the process of being developed. But at the same time, I know that this has exposed a problem that needs fixing within our own legislation that we're going to lean into and ensure happens.
In what direction, if I may ask, the legislation as to the form of action? Are these issues that must be legislated on a government-to-government because of the nature now? They declared the initial shipment to be kitchen wastes and adult diapers, but it turns out it was something else and could be described as toxic. Under what framework will a legislation become very useful, sir?
Well, I think going forward, we need to ensure that if a situation like this were to arise once again, that the Canadian government has more power to actually demand action from the companies responsible. I believe there are loopholes here that were allowed to be skirted that we need to make sure we close, both for Canada's interests and for good relationships with our neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Bonsoir, monsieur. Je m'appelle Joseph. Je suis journaliste de Philippines. First question, earlier in your speech, you had a statement about the Paris attacks, but it's in French. Can you repeat that, the statement about Paris in relation to the APEC?
I just said that obviously when leaders gather within a week of such a terrible and tragic attack in Paris, it becomes a topic of conversation, and we all came together to assert our commitment to work together to fight extremism and terrorism. And I was pleased to see so many Muslim leaders speak up against this extremism that isn't a reflection of Islam.
My second question, forgive me if it's a fluffy question, but I think this is a question that's on the mind of local press. Are you aware, sir, that you are one of two so-called APEC hotties on social media alongside with Mexican President Nieto? How do you feel about this? And with regard to your stay in the Philippines, how did you find it?
I've absolutely adored my stay in the Philippines. Everyone has been tremendously friendly, and for me it was an opportunity to engage with a culture that I've gotten to know very well in Canada. We have over 700,000 Canadians of Filipino origin, and the ties that bind our countries together are very strong. So for me to be able to be here and see what a beautiful and welcoming country so many of my fellow Canadian citizens call home or original home is a real pleasure. You know, one of the things about growing up somewhat in the public eye is that I had to develop a capacity to separate people's perceptions of me from who I really am. And you understand that you know, my father was well respected as a prime minister, but there were a lot of people who didn't like him for any sorts of reasons, and often they would project that onto me as a young child. And I had to learn that what people said about me negatively like that didn't define me and wasn't who I am. But what I also had to learn is that there were a lot of people who liked my father and liked me for reasons entirely unrelated to who I actually was, and I had to learn to set aside positive impressions that weren't grounded in reality. So throughout my life, I have focused on what I have to do and the substance of what I put forward, and that has left me both grounded and able to focus regardless of perceptions or attention to things external. Vous savez, toute ma vie, j'ai reçu de l'attention parce qu'il y avait des gens qui n'aimaient pas mon père et qui voulaient m'attaquer, ou bien qui aimaient mon père et voulaient m'applaudir. Et j'ai dû apprendre à me détacher des perceptions externes, négatives, c'est certain, mais aussi positives, pour pas que ça influence qui je suis. Alors, je prête pas énormément d'attention à l'attention externe. Je me concentre sur le travail que j'ai à faire de servir les Canadiens et d'être un bon chef pour mon pays. Et c'est dans cette perspective-là que s'il y a un peu plus d'attention sur le Canada, bien, je suis content de pouvoir souligner ce que le Canada a à offrir à ses partenaires et à quel point on a une chance de pouvoir bâtir de meilleures relations pour adresser les grands enjeux de la planète.
Good evening, Prime Minister Trudeau. I'm Carla Lim from TV5 Philippines. During your bilateral meeting with President Aquino, did you guys ever discuss about the two Canadian nationals that are now hostages of the terrorist group Abu Sayyaf in southern Mindanao? Especially the group is asking for a ransom money exchange for their lives.
Obviously, I am concerned with the situation and have been briefed on the situation and will allow and certainly hope for a peaceful resolution of this situation.
Last question.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Welcome to the Philippines. I'm Ayi Makaraig from the Philippine-based news website Rappler. Yesterday, President Obama called on China to stop land reclamation in the South China Sea. We want to know what is Canada's position on land reclamation by China, and two, on the Philippines' mode of peacefully settling the dispute through arbitration under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Thank you.
Well, we certainly hope that disputes such as this will be resolved through political and diplomatic means. We call upon all parties to come together and respect international law and proper processes in what is a difficult situation. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much.